Hello everyone, I am out on the back deck. It is absolutely beautiful outside and the birds are chirping, the sun is shining, and I think we're getting snow again in 2 days because that is life here in Chicago. But today I want to give you a very exciting bulb update. Now, as a bit of a backstory, I have been trying to grow bulbs in my containers for the last 4 years. The very first year, I planted a bunch of tulip bulbs in a raised bed, left it uncovered over winter, didn't do anything else, and I would say about 80% of the tulips bloomed. So I was like, okay, this is what's going to work. It must have been either a dry or maybe slightly more mild winter because the next winter I did the same thing, left everything uncovered, and I would say 90% of them died because they rotted. The year after that, which was winter of 2023 going into 2024, I did tarp and cover all of my bulbs and they sprouted, but because the tarps were laying on top of the soil, I had to take the tarps off for them to grow, and then we got a bunch of rain, which then rotted the bulbs. So even if you see sprouts sticking above the soil, your bulbs can still rot, which is what happened to me last year. So then in the fall of last year, I planted 3 beds and put tarps over them. I planted a 4th bed and put, well, first a cover and then a greenhouse over it. And so far, I think it's working. So let me take you around and show you. And then I also have just a little bit of cleanup to do. Oh, I will also update you on everything that's in the greenhouse too, which is open and enjoying this beautiful weather. But let me show you the bulbs first. I think you can see these are very exciting. But again, I've been to this point before and then have had them rot. So I am really hoping that the rain doesn't do that to these, but I will be keeping them covered anytime we're expected to get rain over the next couple weeks. But these are all looking really good. And if you ever, let's say you have a sprout and it stops growing, the best way to see if it has rotted is to give it a little wiggle. And if it feels like it is still secure in the ground, you're probably pretty good. If it slides right off into your hand, that means the bulb has rotted. But yeah, there are definitely a lot of exciting sprouts in this bed. This middle bed here, and you can see I have a tomato cage because that's how I'm keeping the tarps propped up so it's not lying right on the soil. I don't have any sprouts yet, which does that make me nervous? Yes. Is it too early for me to be really nervous? I think so. The only odd thing that's happening is there's one bulb that apparently didn't get buried and has popped up a little bit, and it's sprouting. So that's exciting. But that's the only signs of bulb life that I see in this center bed. Over here in the 3rd raised bed, I also don't see any signs of bulbs yet, but this one got the most shade. So I'm not too worried about this one yet, but I am obsessively checking every day. So over the winter, I did have the black tarp on this. A few weeks ago, I switched to the greenhouse as we're starting to warm up. And now I'll show you what it looks like inside. Look at all of the tulip sprouts. So I planted 200 tulips, or I think it was technically like 197 because a couple of them were rotted when I planted them. But this is incredible. I've never had so many tulip bulbs sprouting in one of my raised beds before. Now, as a reminder, I did not water these at all. I didn't water them when I planted. I haven't watered them since. They've been completely covered from the rain. Whatever moisture was in the soil at planting time is the only moisture they've gotten. So I think, fingers crossed, I've found the method that is going to work for me to successfully grow spring bulbs in my containers over winter. But again, it's been one season and I'm still not sure if everything's going to survive, but we'll see. So from now on, basically, I know that I need to keep them tarped or covered as long as possible, even into the spring after they sprout. And I do not water. I do not water at planting. I have not watered once yet at all. I maybe will start to once the soil feels dry by sticking my finger down, but we're not at that point yet. What this means for the other 3 beds, because I am not going to swap out all of my beds just so I can find greenhouses that fit them. So what I think I'm going to do is go to the Cedar Planters site. I know there are a few different sizes of the greenhouses made for their beds. I'm going to see if anything kind of matches up with the beds that I have, or the other option is to get another greenhouse like the one I have out here that I'm going to show you and just put it on top and that way it kind of does the exact same thing. That's probably what I'm going to lean towards, but having the greenhouse just makes it a lot easier to see what's going on without having to untarp them, and it seems like they stay in place a little bit better than the tarps themselves. So that is my bulb update for now. Let me go ahead and show you what is starting to bud up in the greenhouse. So this is the greenhouse that has been storing some of my a little bit more winter hardy perennials, and this is what I'm thinking to get to cover at least 2 of the lower raised beds with bulbs in them. That way I just have a couple more greenhouses out here. But what's in this greenhouse are a bunch of hydrangeas, ones that are at least hardy to zones 3 or 4. I have some mints in there, and I think that might be it. There are some containers that are also in there, but they are empty. Now I have started to see some signs of life on my hydrangeas. They're small, but there are some green buds that are just starting to swell. Let me see. Here we go. Here are some of the buds. Look how exciting that these plants are still alive. Oh, I'm so happy. Now I don't see any signs of life yet on my mints, but it's too early for me to get worried. Now they are in the smallest pots, and it's terracotta, which isn't very well insulated. So this was just kind of an experiment to see if I can get these to survive. But honestly, if I actually killed mint, I will be shocked. Now, if you want to know whether a plant is still alive or not, you can do what's called a scratch test. Now, again, I think this is still a little too early to be worried if you don't see any signs of life yet. But you can just take your nail and very, very gently scratch away a little bit on one of the stems. And if it's green inside, it's still alive. If it's brown, that's not a great sign. Now I almost forgot, but there is another plant I'm very excited about. So in these 3 pots are peonies. Now I planted these last spring, and then I also planted annuals on top of them. So I wasn't sure how they were going to do. I know they can handle the cold of the winters, but I was afraid I might be watering them too much over the summer. But look, there is a little peony sprout. So this will be the 2nd year. I don't know if they're going to flower or not, but at least I see some signs of life here. Let's take a look in the 2nd pot. I don't think I saw any in the other 2 yet, but oh, no, there is another little sprout. Oh, I cannot wait. Let's see if I can find anything in this last one here. Digging down, and here it is. So far, all 3 peonies are showing signs of life. This is VoiceOver Bethany, here once again because the wind was brutal to close out the video. But I wanted to emphasize that just because I'm seeing signs of life right now doesn't mean everything is still going to survive. Again, I've been to this point in previous years where I've had buds, I've had sprouts, and then we get a ton of rain in the spring, and either I have root rot or the bulbs rot. So I don't think I'm in the clear yet, but I am very optimistic, and I'm definitely keeping an eye on all of these plants and making sure to cover them if it is going to rain. One other thing I wanted to mention that I've been getting asked about lately are my garden hats. So I actually did a garden hat purge. I think I now have 4, which might seem still like too much for one person, but I have 3 from Tula Hats. I'd say that is my favorite brand. I don't know all the names of them, but I will link them down below. The one I'm wearing currently is from Tula Hats. And then just because I feel wrong wearing a straw hat in the winter, my brown hat is from American Hat Maker. So I will link that down below as well. So that is the end of this check-in. Obviously, I will keep you updated on how all these plants continue to do over the spring. Let me know down below if you have any questions. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.